thanks to my local Cineworld, I got to check out Past Lives a little bit earlier tonight before its general release, and I do believe that this is Celine Song's feature directorial debut. This has been getting a lot of love. I know, Elliot, IMO Reviews, my good friends, reviewed this movie. I know Josh from Through the Lens loves this movie. But what did I think of this one? Well, stick around and let's talk about it. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for taking your own time out to check out this spoiler-free review of Past Lives. Starring Greta Lee, Teo Yoo and John Magaro, Past Lives tells the story of Nora and Jesus, who are childhood friends and kind of childhood sweethearts. However, at that age, Nora immigrates to America. Decades later, the two reunite and must conquer kind of love, destinies and choices that they've made throughout their lives. I would like to say a huge thank you to all my awesome Patreons who help to really support the channel. If you're interested in joining Patreon, and if you're interested in buying some merch or checking out my debut book, there is a link down below in the description box you can click where you can find all that good stuff. I will say, for the most part, I enjoyed this movie. Do I think it's perfect? No. Do I think it deserves the hype it's getting? Kind of, but we'll get into that. Firstly, let's go into some positives. The first thing I can say about Past Lives is the acting is fantastic by the three main leads. As I mentioned before, every one of them do a great performance. There is a lot to work with here in terms of messaging about love, about destiny, the choices that we make in life. Do we go on a date? Do we not go on a date? Do we get into a relationship with that person? If we do, if I actually stayed single, how would that change my life? And it has you questioning a lot of things in your life, and maybe a lot of decisions that you've made yourself, but it just makes you think about elements like that in your own life, which I just felt was really nice to kind of touch upon that. Because I will be honest with you guys, there has been in the past, girls where, I've had a crush on them, and I've always wondered, why am I getting friend zoned, for example? Or if I didn't get friend zoned, how would that have turned out? Or relationships that maybe ended too soon, how would that have turned out if that was actually worked on and stayed together longer? All these questions run through your mind at some point or another in your life, and I think that Past Lives does that with a very delicate touch, but one that I could really respect. The cinematography, now of course this is an A24 movie, so it's going to be a beautiful looking movie, and I think that it is exactly that. It really captures Korea so well, but also captures New York, not just kind of the grittiness of New York, but actually some beautiful sights, and there is some really nice just one take shots and just some tracking shots as well used here that I think is done effectively. And I like the fact that this doesn't feel as if it is so much chop and editing, when one character is speaking to another character. It's all in frame. You can see the two characters talking to one another, and I could just really appreciate that about the cinematography and the directing as well, especially the directing from Celine Song. The music also throughout I think is done well. It's subtly done. There's nothing that's absolutely in your face or anything, but it just fits the mood and the ambience that this movie is going for. I think deep down, this is a movie that I think is going to work far more for some people and some people not so much. As for where I stand on it, I stand on more of this end. It did work for me. I definitely do want to watch this one again, but I have got a few negatives that ultimately stop this from being a classic for myself. Now, a couple of those negatives for me, pure and simple, is I think there's a couple of shots here with the cinematography where it's just extended shots of the scenery of New York, for example, right? Which last maybe 10-15 seconds, and you get quite a few of those. Now, we could have maybe chopped a couple of those down and maybe even thrown in an extra scene in to the childhood part of our main two characters, because I feel as if, for me, this all starts from when these characters were children slash teenagers, right? So it starts off with them in Korea, because yes, we get the point, yes, they're well done, the characters are fleshed out, but just to kind of buy into more of them being childhood sweethearts, I would have liked just a little bit more extension into that time frame in that first act that we get, because I feel as if we get enough there to give us, you know, the gist of what is there. Then as we go and starting going more into like the second act, as our characters are starting to get older, I did like the fact that they kind of touched on Skype and like internet connection issues and kind of like what technology was like back in around 2010 to 2012 time, which I do remember. So those elements, I appreciated that it was a kind of homage to them, but also like nostalgia, but also acknowledged that's what the current state of technology was back then, with like video calls, webcams, that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed that, but I just feel as if there could have been a little bit more to make you really buy in to these characters and buy more into the story that's being sold, and kind of tugging more onto the heartstrings, because I feel as if this movie kind of held back on that a little bit. And the last kind of little negative that I've got here is one that my actual friend Elliot from IMO Reviews touched on, and I've got to absolutely agree with this. The start of this movie basically shows you the ending of the movie, which it kind of takes out any anticipation you're going to have, despite how well the movie tries to build itself up. So overall, Past Lives, as I say, is a good movie. I did enjoy it. I'd want to watch it again, but unfortunately it does have a couple of negatives, as I mentioned, which I think hit the mark but also misses the mark. So my overall score for Past Lives is a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Have you seen this movie? Are you going to check it out? Is this one for you? Well, let me know down below in the comment section so we can continue discussion down there. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel by clicking that red button down below, and until the next time that I see you, I'll be seeing you later.